So I posted this video about using AI to make Minecraft animations. Now to me, this was just a fun experiment to see if it was possible. It wasn't intended as encouragement to use AI, nor was it a declaration that I intended to use it in this way myself. Some people took it that way though, and some were straight up It's not like AI is a secret, and odds are if you saw my little video, you're probably already aware of AI and its capabilities. Maybe even more than I am. And although I made the obvious prediction that it would get better, considering how poor quality and unpredictable the results were, I would have thought the example I made in the video would be a discouragement more than anything. And a couple of people even said as much. But I guess this begs the question, should you use AI to make art? From my last video, I did learn that there is a lot of passion about the subject. Everything from the ethics of AI art to the work ethic of generating content with it to the environmental impacts of it. This is not just an ethical issue for a lot of people, but a moral issue as well. Unfortunately, as it stands, AI is the direction technology is headed in. It doesn't matter how needless or harmful it may be, there is a demand for it, and unless outside forces step in to impose limitations somehow, I don't know how they would, its use will continue to grow. That doesn't mean we can't discourage it, but I think we need to be realistic about the fact that its popularity is growing, regardless of how we may personally feel about it. People seem to think that just because you accept reality for what it is, that you somehow lack empathy. Just because someone isn't jumping into hysterics about an issue doesn't mean they aren't aware or don't take it seriously. With that said, let's talk about some of the issues that were brought up. I think we're all aware that a lot of the developments towards the modern era we live in today have negatively impacted the environment. Does that mean we shouldn't care? Obviously not, but people seem to think technology somehow stagnates in that department. Like humans aren't going to develop technologies and methods to help reduce the environmental impact we have on the earth. We have in the past, and presumably will continue to do so in the future. Now there is a point to be made about the damage being done in the meantime, and I'm not saying that we ignore that, but again, how we feel about it does nothing to change the reality of what's happening, despite any delusions one may have to the contrary. What if instead we encouraged others to embrace the reality we're facing, developments that are inevitably happening whether we like it or not, and look for realistic ways to evolve technology to counter the potential harms of it? But I guess hopping on a virtuous soapbox and screaming at everyone outside of our bubble and accusing them of being some kind of egregious offender feels better for our egos. One of the arguments you often hear about AI is that it's going to take a lot of jobs. And yeah, it sucks to be affected by emerging technologies, but this isn't the first time it's ever happened, and it won't be the last, save for the ever-increasing likelihood we destroy ourselves first, of course. But the reality is, that is what technology has always done. Every invention in the history of mankind has created and destroyed jobs. Does that mean we can't have empathy? No. But instead of screaming into the void like banshees, we could try to help people adapt and form strategies that take into account the inevitable existence of threatening technologies. I personally think that would be a much more fruitful approach than just futilely telling everyone to hit the brakes. It's just not likely to happen. People are not going to listen, and especially if you're an about it. If this is how we're going to tackle the challenges ahead of us, why don't we just go back to the root of the problem? Let's get rid of computers, because if there are computers, they will inevitably lead to AI. While we're at it, let's get rid of electricity, because if there's electricity, it will inevitably lead to computers, which will again lead to AI. But that might not be enough either though. Let's get rid of comfort and abundance. Because when people are comfortable and there's abundant resources, we have time to sit around and think up things like electricity, and then computers, and ultimately AI. Maybe if we're all back to a basic survival state of living, we'll have less impact on the environment through our intrusive technologies. And no one will be out of a job because everyone will be toiling to survive daily. But somehow I doubt people will want to give up their modern comforts. They'll want to keep their smartphones, and they'll continue using platforms like YouTube. Even though YouTube is clearly employing AI more and more, like every other platform in business, I guess we can keep opposing individuals instead of the platforms that are hosting and encouraging this damaging content. And I'm just going to take a wild guess here and assume that most people screaming about their pet issue online are doing so on a device that has a lithium battery and any number of materials and components that have been accused of being harvested and manufactured unethically. They probably use plastic, whether it's a plastic straw or even a little knick-knack like those cringe anime figurines or some other bullshit collectible. They might even be so dastardly evil that they buy brand name products that are made by underpaid or even slave labor. And let's not talk about how many jobs that computer or that smartphone or even the internet itself that you're using has destroyed. But I guess it feels good to convince ourselves that we stand for our moral convictions. The ones we choose to acknowledge anyway. Let's get back to the original question. Should you use AI to make art? My opinion? You can do what you want. I'm not your mom. And unlike my moral superiors in the comments of my last video, I don't think it's my place to try and shame or intimidate others into sharing my values. The people using AI didn't make it. They're just using tools that have been created and made available to them. Does it suck? Is it cringe? Well, yeah, but what the hell isn't? If you wanted my opinion, I'd probably say it's better to create things yourself. Right now, AI is a negative force for the environment, and we're becoming inundated with low-effort AI content that all looks the same and doesn't seem to be contributing positively to humanity's artistic pursuits. It's cheap, it's lazy, and people probably won't respect you as an artist if you use AI for serious work. As for me personally, I found that in my experience toying with AI generation tools, even if the results end up looking good, I don't feel good about the product. It generally feels inauthentic, and I can't put my personal artistic stamp on it. And if you try to take credit for AI art, it feels like there has to be an asterisk next to it. And it also negates the benefits gained from spending the time and effort to acquire skills and experience. And so I think you end up with a body of work that you won't really feel attached to because you haven't earned it. If none of that matters to you though, then feel free to do what you want. Like I said, I'm not going to assume it's my place to tell you what to do. But let's say you would like to dissuade people from using AI. I wouldn't follow in the footsteps of the so-called loyal community members that were so quick to attack me in the comments of my previous video. That kind of response, whether you agree with their perspective or not, is exactly what you do if you want to drive more people to use AI. Because who's going to take advice from a bully? And I guess it's no surprise that people in the artistic community are concerned about AI's effect on art, but I do find it interesting how people will let any number of issues slide and at the same time feeling justified in their selective outrage about their personal pet peeve. For instance, there are serious concerns that AI could become sentient and enslave humanity, or at the very least be responsible for untold loss of human life. But let's just patrol the internet for people making art with it. In any case, the issue of AI is only prevalent today because of the aforementioned milestones of human progress. The state of our environment and the ethical and moral values we place on society are all subject to the whims of our planet, our solar system, and our galaxy. A simple comet or a large enough solar flare would reduce the last 100 years of progress to the annals of history. So as we spend our days under the looming threat of numerous possible extinction events, I don't know if it's going to matter too much whether or not you used AI to make a cringy Minecraft animation. But personally, I'm rooting for the comet.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and untied laces, yeah. Just tripping on daydreams, got dirty little lullabies playing on repeat. Might as well just ride around the nursery and count sheep.